Good evening. This is my first time doing this, so I will have James help me through this process. I am calling the meeting to order.
Where's Maribel?
Do we have Mark on the line?
Mark on? Yes. Great.
Trustee Good will be joining us remotely. Hello, Mark.
Greetings from Brazil.
Greetings from Brazil.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded or broadcasted. Images and sounds may be captured of those attending the meeting. You want to read the Spanish part, James, for me?
Hay alguien que necesita intérprete para la Junta.
And we have Brownell Middle School here to lead us through the Pledge of Allegiance.
The week of January 21st is the Kindness Challenge Week. So to lead us in the pledge today, we brought our Kindness Club that was started by Mrs. Fortino. Would you guys like to come on up? I'm going to let Mrs. Fortino give you a little bit of information about what the Kindness Club has accomplished so far.
Well, we're super excited to let you know that these kids, and up to 43 in total at Brownell, grades 6 through 8th, have come up with some really great ideas how to sprinkle kindness not only throughout our school but within our community as well. So they had a brilliant idea to do a coin drive, and they raised over $450, and we went on a field trip to the San Martin Animal Shelter, and we purchased toys and blankets and leashes and collars, and we spent about an hour and a half there playing with the dogs and the cats, and so that was a really awesome field trip for them. We also wrote letters to the soldiers for Thanksgiving and got those mailed off. We did a warm apparel drive, and we went on a walking field trip to St. Joseph's Center and donated, I can't even count how many big bags of warm clothing. A dozen bags of the big garbage bags, yeah. Then we went on a field trip over to Nob Hill Grocery Store, and we decorated their Christmas tree. Next week, we are going to be doing Gilroy Rocks. I'm sure you heard of the activity from Jill Vonnie within the community based on what happened at the Garlic Festival. So we're going to hop on that wagon, and we're going to paint rocks, and then we'll be going on a field trip into the community, and we'll be sprinkling those beautiful rocks for people to admire and inspire. Oh, yes, we went to Wheeler Manor. That was our first field trip. We decorated pumpkins, and we went on a walking field trip to Wheeler Manor. And we had a nice visit with the folks who live there and donated the pumpkins too.
Nice job.
So if you want to...
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys. It's an awesome group of kids.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks for the parents' support and for being here tonight with your students.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Nice job, you guys.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know. Thanks, Jill. Great job.
It's always nice to start that way. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve?
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
So everything is going to be a roll call because we have a remote visitor.
Oh, since we have a remote, see, I'm learning the process. Since President Good is not here, we will have a roll call. Lucy?
Enrique Diaz? Yes. BC Doyle?
Yes.
Twin Pyock? Yes. Mark Good?
Yes.
Anisha Munchi?
Yes.
James Pace?
Yes.
Linda Pisano?
Yes.
Motion approved? Okay. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any items or any issues within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board that is not listed on the agenda. No action can be taken on an item not on the agenda at this time, but may be referred to the administration or put on a future agenda. Members of the public may also address the board on an agenda item before or during the board's consideration of the item. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9323, individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each, unless otherwise stipulated. Do we have any? No. Seeing we have none, we will move on to the next item. At this time, I would like to report the action taken in closed session. So we have 2 expulsions. Could I have a motion, please?
On case 2020-12, I move to expel.
Second.
All in favor?
We have to do a roll call.
Oh, we have to do a roll call. Let's see.
Enrique Diaz?
Yes.
BC Doyle?
Yes.
Twin Pyock? Yes. Mark Good?
Abstain.
Anisha Munchi?
Yes.
James Pace?
Yes.
Linda Pisano?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion moves.
I further move that we suspend the expulsion.
Second.
All in favor?
No.
Enrique Diaz?
Yes.
BC Doyle?
Yes.
Twin Pyock? Yes. Mark Good?
Abstain.
Anisha Munchi?
Yes.
James Pace?
Yes.
Linda Pisano?
Yes.
Okay, 2020-12 moves through. Next we have 2020-14.
Move to expel.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, Lucy, can we do a roll call, please?
Enrique Diaz?
Yes.
BC Doyle?
Yes.
Twin Pyock? Yes. Mark Good?
Abstain.
Anisha Munchi?
Yes.
James Pace?
Yes.
Linda Pisano?
Yes.
Motion approved. The board also voted to readmit 8 students and not readmit 5 students. The vote was unanimous by all directors present. Trustees Diaz, Doyle, Fiak, Munshi, Pace, and Pisano voted yes. Trustee Good was absent. Next, we have a public employee appointment.
Do you want to?
Dr. Flores will say a few words about that.
Well, I'm really pleased to let the board and the board knows and the public know that tonight we're appointing a new. I have to read the title because we changed the job title from what it used to be. Many of you know Cheryl Galloway. She left a few months ago, and we've been mourning ever since because she did such a great job. After Cheryl left, we reviewed the job description and revised it. So the new job title is Emergency Preparedness and School Safety Coordinator, and I'm very pleased to present to the board tonight the new individual filling that role, Aurelio Rodriguez, and I'm going to say a few words about him. Why don't you stand up so everybody knows who you are? He has a very extensive background in safety. To put it mildly, he began his career in the Parks Enforcement Unit in New York City, where he worked for a while before coming to California, and then he was 27 years a police officer in the San Jose Police Force. And during that time, by the way, he was an SRO for a number of years, so he's had experience as an SRO, and we think that's going to be very beneficial.
School resource officer.
School resource officer, thank you. There were a number of applicants for the job, and he rose to the top through a very rigorous interview process, extensive reference checks, which were all great. And so he is from our community. He's a coach in our community. His children went to our schools, right? And is very committed to the Gilroy community. So we are very excited to have him join us, and he's actually going to start work tomorrow. So the board unanimously approved his appointment, and Linda Pacino and Mark Good were on the interview panel, and we appreciate their participation. So welcome. We're really looking forward to working with you.
And I am also looking forward.
Great.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome and congratulations. On the other items, there is nothing to report at this time, which brings us to the next item on the agenda, Student Board Member Report. Erica Clinton from Christopher High School will be presenting tonight.
Hello, I'm Erica Clinton. I am a senior at Christopher High School currently, and I'm going to be doing my school report on Christopher High School, of course, and Rod Kelly for my elementary school this time. So let me get started. So first I'm going to be talking about Rod Kelly before I move on to Christopher High School. So in their fall semester, they had their Halloween celebration. So here we have 3 girls dressed as zombies. Then we have a few more kids, an angel, a scarecrow, a cat, a unicorn, and then we also have some more students just out in the parking lot enjoying some festivities. Then they also have their Royal Dance, which is a year-round event that they have, and this is their nighttime activity. And as you can see, there's a whole big crowd where they came out and watched the kids dance. So they're dancing in partners and by themselves. And then they have their rock garden in memory of Sophie Leilani. She was actually a student at Rod Kelly, and she passed away from cancer after a 3.5-year battle. And so every student on Rod Kelly's campus painted a rock for her, and they have a rock garden. And they made this rock garden in like late September. And then their holiday fun, they have pictures with Santa, a rapping contest, and then they're putting donuts on a string, and students have to try and bite the donut off and get it completely off without using their hands. So these are some of the holiday fun activities that they had before they went off to break. And some honorable mentions, their 5th grade class started a garden. They were celebrating some of the students that got the highest scores in the CAFS testing. Ms. Salcido wanted to say that she is blessed with some of the best staff possible, and they're always working to achieve academic greatness. And she absolutely loves her staff, and she's very blessed. And then also their choir performed in their holiday fun activities before they went and took pictures with Santa and had all their rapping activities. And these are also the same students that got awarded for their highest CAPS scores. So this is Rod Kelly and all of the different things that they've done for their first semester. And now moving on to Christopher High School, we had our holiday fun activities as well. So as you see here, our principals all dressed in their ugly sweater attire when we had our Spirit Day. We also have every single year our teacher, Mr. Clark, puts the different teachers' faces in like a little elf kind of Photoshop thing, and they all get to celebrate the holidays. And a lot of different teachers are featured on our walls in our A building hallway. It's really awesome. Then we have our principals here once again taking part in the musical chairs in the quad. We all had a really fun time during lunchtime activities, and actually our ASB teacher, Ms. Yodoshar, activities director, was a part of the game too, but she wasn't a part in this picture. And then we also have, she did, sorry, Ms. Yodoshar. And then we also have another activity called Chubby Bunny, where students would put as many marshmallows in their mouth and try to say jingle bells. So here is our winner, actually. And then for finals week, not pictured, we had yoga in the gym so kids could kind of namaste and chill out before finals and getting ready for those really important tests and projects. Then we had hot chocolate when the students came in the morning, so we have one of our students enjoying some hot chocolate before. And then we also had Play-Doh therapy in the middle of the quad just to bring out our childish side, even though we're in high school. So these are some things that we had during our finals week, which is definitely helpful. We also have Gilroy Strong plus Saugus Strong. So actually in November 14th in 2019, Saugus High School in Santa Clarita, California was victimized by a school shooting, just how we were as we were victimized at the Garlic Festival. So our arts classes actually drew the postcards, the outside of them or the front of them, with little pictures of garlic traveling across all the way to Santa Clarita, California. And some of our leadership students actually wrote letters to different students at Saugus High School. And a lot of students said it was very therapeutic in trying to cope with what happened at the festival in July. So it was a very, very inspiring thing that happened with two schools connecting over something that was so tragic that happened both in their communities. So it was really awesome. And then some honorable mentions. We have actually from Donors Choose, our Christopher High School ASB was trying to get some new speakers for our rallies and all of our activities. And the Christophers actually donated a significant amount of money, and we were able to get our speakers. So here are some people part of our music and tech committee working on the new tech for our speakers. Then our 5th period leadership class came out and they gave or delivered presents with Santa, which is AKA Mr. Day at our school. And they delivered presents to our special needs class. And all the students basically gave a letter to the ASB, and we funded all of the presents that they got. And our 5th period came and partied with them and delivered the presents with Santa. And then another feature of our Ugly Sweater Day, Kat Javier and Luke Javier, siblings, showing sibling love, and they have pictures of each other on their sweaters. So some normal sibling love, as we can see. And some honorable mentions that are not pictured, we had a boys basketball win on Tuesday against San Benito, which is honestly really awesome because we don't usually beat them. Then coming up in the next few months, we have our CHS Talks, which is actually next week, which is like a form of TED Talks that we have at our school. And it's the first time ever doing it, so it'll be our first annual CHS Talks. Then this past week, we had our Frosted Fiesta Spirit Week. We just had our rally today, and we had multiple Spirit Weeks. And we have our Winter Ball tomorrow, so there's a lot of different events going on. And actually, the theme was the Polar Express across the U.S., so each Spirit Day was like a stop in the train station. So it was a little bit complicated, but very fun overall. And then in February 8th is actually our opening night for I Never Saw Another Butterfly, which is a play about the Holocaust and a Holocaust survivor, which is, I think, is very important for our students to learn about, especially just with everything that we learn at school. It's very, very important to see it right in front of your eyes as well as the students act it out. And then also we have our blood drive coming up February 6th. And then finally, 2 students picked from our school, actually myself and Sloan Campbell, were chosen to go to the Bloody Sunday Memorial starting from February 28th to March 1st. And we have an all expenses paid trip to the Bloody Sunday celebration in Selma, Alabama. So we'll be going on Friday, February 28th. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you, Erica. That was nicely done. Thank you for sharing all the activities that are happening at Rod Kelly and Christopher High School. Next on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Flores?
Thank you. Well, we've had a busy month, even with the break in between. So I just want to highlight some of the things that happened this past month. As you know, we have a student and a teacher who are going to be recognized at the Spice of Life Awards. And every year they ask some of us to participate in a video that will then be shown at the event. So I was interviewed on camera for both our teacher who was selected and the student, and I think most of us are going to the event, so you'll get to see the video, and it's very exciting that we're going to have those recognitions. Right before the holiday, we had our annual district office holiday luncheon, and Melanie had a great idea to take a picture this year. So this is the first time we've had a picture taken of the district office, and we were all in a very festive mood that day, many of us wearing red, so it's a great picture. I'm really glad we did it. I guess that'll be a new tradition. And even though you can't see it in total, the decorations for this event every year are so professionally done. We tease the staff members from IT who do this that they should go into event planning for. You should have seen it. It was the Nutcracker theme, and the whole room was very cool. It was great. I had the chance right before the holiday to go to the Roble Gingerbread Man production, which is just kindergarten students. It was adorable. All of us that were parents in the room were holding back tears. It was just so precious and well done. It was great. And of course, it kind of kicked off that from that event forward, every event that's going to be held at that school is going to have a recognition for their principal, who's retiring in June. So, of course, they did. They gave him a little special recognition, Scott Otteson, and I've been invited to an upcoming event that I know they're going to be doing the same thing. So all year we're going to get to go to events where he gets recognized. We have a monthly walkthrough of our construction projects. So in December we started, Brownell was far enough along at that point for us to start doing monthly walkthroughs. And it's just so exciting. It's really fun to go every month and see the progress at the site. This contractor, Flint, has been great. They have, what do you call those? Drones in the air taking pictures every day of the project. And so once a week we get pictures of what's happened at the project. And then once a month we get to go visit. And it's really coming along. They've already got the interior roads, the drop-off area. They're framing the buildings. And next Thursday, I want to remind you all, you're welcome to join us on a tour of the Meehlis, Meehlis plant in Lodi, where our buildings are being constructed. So we're going to go there and see them actually under construction. They'll be arriving in February, late February, March. So if you want to go, I really do need to know soon, because we'll take a couple of vans if enough of you want to go. I know facilities members are going for the committee. So it's a very exciting project. We can't wait. So on the First Street end, what we're working on right now are the 7th and 8th grade pods. They're going to be all the classrooms housing 7th and 8th graders. We're very excited about that.
And the administration.
And the administration to follow. Yeah, you're right. Right in the middle there will be the administration and library building.
Dr. Flores, and the lights are also enabled now, so they're not at full brightness, but they do have them.
Right.
If you happen to drive by there, they're on
See
already.
it. Yeah, and they did leave one area on First Street where you can look in at the project, so you can see it for yourself if you want to go drive by. This week I was really pleased to be able to go to the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce, their monthly breakfast, and they recognize special people in the community. So we nominated Chris Leone, who's the activities director at Gilroy High. He's just an amazing, amazing person. And we were really pleased that they selected him to be recognized this month. And some of us went over to be there for the recognition. It was very special. And then last night, 3 board members and I, so Enrique, they're sitting next to each other, Enrique, Linda, and Twin, and I went to the GTA monthly meet and greet, and it was very nice. Some brand new teachers were there. One I hadn't even met. She just started, right before the break, special ed teacher at ADB. So I got to meet her in person, but there were a number of brand new teachers first year, but then a lot of teachers, a wide range of teachers, special ed, high school, elementary. So we got a chance to talk to them and just interface with them outside of what we do when we're here at work. I don't know if the 3 board members want to add anything, but I thought it was nice they invited us. It was nice to be there.
Yeah, I thought it was very nice that they invited us, and it was nice to be there. And I got some questions of some things I could answer and some things not appropriate for me to answer, and explain to them why. And it was another opportunity to discuss the role of a board member, which I'm finding more and more people don't understand, including me sometimes. But so it was good to see a good turnout.
Yeah, it was very nice.
And I really appreciate that, because I'm fairly new to the community, so most teachers I don't know, so it was nice to meet them in a social setting, and they were very, very welcoming, so that was very appreciated.
They were.
There's a Bloody Mary in front of me, and that's not mine. So. Sure. I don't like Bloody Mary, so yeah.
I had no alcohol in front
What'd you have instead?
But I did get to even Mark Carrasco, Mark SRO was
Oh,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Mark Tarasco's
Tarasco,
in the
yeah.
center in the black hat and red.
that's him.
He's one of our SROs, but his wife,
Yeah.
I'm blocking on her first name.
Yeah, I met her
Anybody remember?
last night too.
I'm blocking, but anyway, it starts with an M. I can't remember. But she's a GTA rep, I believe, at Solorzano. So.
Yeah, but I did get to meet people from Solorzano and speak with them for a while. Gilroy High, Mark Tarasco as well. So it was a really pleasant evening.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do that. So I've also been working on, the Ed Services team and I have continued our APS visits, which we are, in the winter, we always do the APS visits. So we've had 4 in the last month: Glenview, Luigi, Rucker, Rod Kelly.
APS?
APS. Well, it's interesting. We really should change the name because APS is Academic Program Survey, started by the CDE, California Department of Ed, years ago, before I got here. And when we started talking as a team about doing monitoring visits and what instruments should we use, so this is 12, 13 years ago, and we decided to start with the APS from the CDE. And as it has evolved over the years, it's become more and more an instrument that sites have had input into. There are some commonalities, but there are also differences depending on the focus at the school site, and it can change from year to year. Their goals could be different from year to year. But the point of the instrument is to try to be more consistent in our monitoring of what's happening out at the school sites, and it's all about best practices in the classroom. So we're out there looking for best practices. It's not about individual teachers. It's what we do when we get done is we meet with the principal and we're able to see on the screen in their conference room usually the results of the survey, and it's just to give them feedback on what we're seeing. So like today we were at Rucker. One thing I loved was that we saw a lot of our adopted text in the Rucker classrooms, both math and ELA. And the most exciting part of today's visit was just 5 days ago, the Rucker staff were trained in the new GLAD program, and we saw evidence of it in all the 4th and 5th grade. I was 4th, and with the principal, and other members of the team did 5th. But we were really excited to see professional development that just occurred already in action in the classroom. And that I could say about all of the sites we've visited in last month. Everybody. The fidelity to district initiatives, district adopted text is very high, and we're really pleased. And that's evolved over the course of these years that we've been doing these APS monitoring visits. So anyway, we give the principals feedback at the end, and they share that with their staff in whatever format works for them. And I think it's a really high quality process. I don't know many districts that do something this systematic process that we use. And we have 4 coming up. We have Luigi, Las Animas, Christopher, and Gilroy High. And I think we'll be done because we started with middle school. So after we do the high schools, we'll be done with the APS visits. Then I go back to my spring visits. Lucy can send that schedule to you again. So that's a visit that you're welcome to attend. Any of the school site visits, you're welcome to join me on those spring visits. I have a lot of meetings every month. I'm not going to list them all, but there are a lot of upcoming events in the next month or so, 2 months. So hopefully you'll get some of those on your schedule. The reclassification visits are just, to me, one of the high points of the year. So I hope you'll get to both of those. But look at all those great things that are going to happen in our district over the next couple of months. Run for Fitness, one of my favorite events, is March 14th. A lot of us in the room are involved in Run for Fitness, and I hope board members will come. And we're just kicking it off right now. Parents can sign up online, students can sign up online right now, but they have to do a certain amount of training before the Run for Fitness. So we're kicking it off this month, getting kids out there walking and running in anticipation of the event. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. I'm sure this keeps you pretty busy, so thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda, and we will do a roll call for items 6A through 6L.
Can we consider item 6A separately?
Okay.
So I move to approve item 6A.
All right. Do we have a second?
Can we ask for clarification on, can we table that motion and get clarification on some of the other options?
So are we saying that we should remove some of
Yeah,
these?
we have to remove it to discuss
No.
it.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, so, which is fine.
Okay. Oh, no, it's okay then. That's fine. Well, I'll reinstate James' motion then. Yeah.
So,
Do we have a second?
Trustee Pace, did you make a motion to move A?
6A, yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Gwen Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno,
Yes.
Trustee Good, can I clarify that you wanted to vote yes on the benchmark item?
Oh, that's why we separated.
Oh, no. No, sorry.
Okay.
I was
Okay, do we want
I
to
was
do this
just
again?
testing you.
Okay.
I just changed it to abstain.
Okay. So President Good is abstaining from the vote? Okay. All right. Motion passes. And then for items 6B through 6L, we will do a consent for all of those items together. Lucy, can we do a roll call, please?
We need a motion.
Need a
first.
motion.
Oh,
Move to approve items 6B through L.
Second.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Gwen Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno,
Yes.
Motion carries. We have action information items 7, and we will start with a resolution. Dr. Flores, Superintendent, will present this resolution to the governing board for approval.
I have a lot of materials here, and we put a packet at your spot, and there's a packet back here for the public if you so choose to take one. But the census is coming up, and as you know, it's done every 10 years. And in fact, in March, all of us in this room will be receiving information about the census. And for the first time, it's going to be an online process unless you request that it be sent to you by mail. But, it happens every 10 years, and it's, our constitutional right to participate in the census. And in fact, the census is critical to public school funding. And so the county office is taking the lead on helping districts get the word out to the populace at large about the census. And of course, we're the largest employer. We serve the most citizens in the city. And so we are a great vehicle for getting the word out about the census. And the county office provided us with a wealth of information. In fact, I'm not going to show you this whole notebook, but this is lesson plans, flyers, all kinds of information about the census that they provided to us. The packet that I gave to you, I gave to the principals a couple months ago and emphasized to them our role in getting the word out to our parents and through their students about the census. And we'll be doing some flyers out to our parent population in probably late February. We don't want to do it too early, but we don't want to do it too late either. So we'll be sending out information directly to our parents. We'll post things on our website. And I've asked the principals to ask teachers to do some of the lessons that are in the resources that we've provided to them. So we're hoping to really help get the word out. All the districts in the county are going to be doing the same thing. And it's really critical because the census determines how much federal funds we receive in California for programs like Title I. And if the numbers go down, we're at risk of losing a lot of money. It's a really, really critical process that we all need to participate in, and we want to get the word out every way that we can over the next couple months.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, for taking the lead on this because I just came from like a Women's 2020 Council regarding Census 2020, and I came home and talked to my teenage daughter and some, college kids, and I'm like, do you know what's going on, Census 2020? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh my God. So, and yeah. And they're also, I don't think they're called census takers, but they're hiring for, and it's actually, if you're 18 and older, it's $30 an hour. It's flexible hours. I mean, that is good pay.
My father-in-law loves doing it.
And he's retired.
Wow. So we're asking the board to approve Resolution 1920-17, which is in support of this process, and I can read it into the record if you'd like.
Dr. Flores, what does the support entail, or what does it look like? Do we support it with manpower or with data or access to data?
I think it's really through information. Getting the information out is what our primary role is. I think the lessons, I've looked at some of them, are also educating our students about their civic responsibilities. The census is part of that. So it's more that. It's not, I don't see it as having a big impact on, our time. Okay. No, certainly not any impact on our resources. It's really just getting the word out. And we have a huge audience that we can get the word out to. So
that's a good follow through with addition to getting the early voting registration drive that we've had. So that's a really good
we
take
kicked
on
that off last year with the Secretary of State. That was great.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, I'll just read it. All right. So, whereas the safety, security, and well-being of all children is the number one priority for both the Gilroy Unified School District and the Gilroy Unified School District Board of Education. And whereas a nationwide census is our civic duty mandated by the U.S. Constitution, occurs every 10 years to determine the number of congressional members each state has in the House of Representatives, to redraw state and local district lines, and determine federal programming funding allocations for education, schools, and other programs that benefit and keep our communities healthy and safe. And whereas an inaccurate census can result in losing billions of dollars in federal funds that help our schools, employees, students, families, and community, as well as representation in the U.S. House of Representatives. And whereas the 2010 census missed hard-to-count residents, including individuals and families living in hard-to-find housing units, people who speak limited or no English, 0 to 5-year-olds, disabled, and elderly residents, homeless communities, and new immigrants. And whereas Gilroy Unified School District values, fosters an environment free from fear, distrust, and confusion with our employees, students, families, and our larger community. And whereas Census 2020 will impact funding for child care, Head Start, foster care, school lunch programs, Title I, Title III, and special education. And whereas Gilroy Unified School District supports the work of Census 2020 and authorizes Census 2020 related activities that raise awareness through the distribution of information from the Santa Clara County Office of the Census and the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and encourages discussions and lessons about the census in schools and classrooms. Therefore, be it resolved that the Gilroy Unified School District Board of Education and the superintendent do hereby adopt this resolution to support the County of Santa Clara's Census 2020 measures to locate and count all residents of Santa Clara County.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz.
Yes.
BC Doyle. Yes. Gwen Pioch.
Yes.
Mark Good.
Yes.
Anisha Munchi.
Yes.
James Pace.
Yes.
Linda Pisano.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you. And thank you
Thank
for doing all that reading, Dr. Flores. Sure. Okay, next on the agenda, we have an initial proposal for 2019-2020 reopener for negotiations from California School Employees Association. Linda Fagoni, President, CSEA, will present the unit's initial proposal for 2019-2020 reopener negotiations.
Thank you, Acting President Munchi. Members of the board, Superintendent Flores, I'm just to introduce the next two items. Both the next items are informational items for the board. A requirement of our government code is bargaining units have to present what's called initial reopeners to begin the negotiations process. And we have two of our bargaining units here tonight, so I'm presenting first. We have Linda Fagoni, the president of CSEA, and she's going to give a speech.
Yeah. So I'm presenting our opener to you tonight, and we look forward to working with the district and getting things going.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Thank you, Linda.
I'm getting better.
We also have the initial proposal for 2019-20 reopener negotiations from Gilroy Federation of Fair Educators. Arcelia O'Connor, President, GFP, will present the unit's proposal for reopener bargaining for the 2019-2020 school year.
Good evening, Acting President Munchi, board members, student rep Erica Clinton, Dr. Flores. I am here tonight to present GFP's Sunshine Proposal for the 2019-2020 school year. I would like to thank the union's negotiating team and the district team for conducting our sessions with respect. Even when we disagree, and we do sometimes, we can be an example of civility in the face of disagreement, and we must. As educators and staff of Gilroy Unified, we must show our students, their families, and the public that it's okay to have different opinions. That is one of the cornerstones of our democracy. There is so much awful and just plain hateful speech everywhere around us today, and our children are bombarded by it. So we, and in this case our union and the district, can be an example that it doesn't have to be that way. We can meet, we can agree or disagree, but do it with respect so that we can show the students of Gilroy Unified that our freedom to disagree is precious and that we must respect everyone's right to their opinion. That is America, that is Gilroy Unified. And our negotiations should, and I'm confident will be, an example of that. Also, our proposal is quite brief for this cycle, so I would say if the district would just like to agree, that will be even better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Arcelia. Next, we have information item California School Dashboard. Kermit Schrock, Program Administrator for Student Assessment and Data Management, will present an informational item report to the governing board.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Good evening, Dr. Flores, Vice President Munchi, and members of the board. I am here this evening to present the California School Dashboard, the 2019 update. So, just a little reminder, background, right? This is the new accountability system, not so new anymore, maybe in our fourth year, fourth year, I'd have to go back and count now, of accountability through the dashboard. And the old accountability system, there were two accountability systems before. The API with rankings for schools, that was a state indicator, and then there was the No Child Left Behind federal indicator with program improvement and all of that entailed. And so now California has a single accountability system trying to meet both state and federal accountability targets and goals. So as you can see from the first bullet there, it does meet both the state and federal requirements, and it's multiple measures, not just test scores. So that was the one thing about the old accountability systems. It was just how did students do on test scores, assign the school some sort of accountability points or need for improvement. So now we'll see the measures that are suspension rate and chronic absenteeism, as well as college preparedness and graduation rates, right? So they've thrown a number of things together to kind of avoid there's just kind of one way to evaluate a school or district success. And then there are levels of ways that the county or the district is supporting schools. So this is used to determine if the district qualifies for differentiated assistance. So last year, the district was in the red category for several of our subgroups, for our homeless students and for our students with disabilities in their test scores, and either students with disabilities was for suspension rate, and for the homeless students it was test scores and for chronic absenteeism. And then the county then provided support to the district. We met with county team. The county now has a team of people focusing on assisting districts, and they led us through a process of evaluating where do we want to put some focus, and that was through the months of January, February, March. Where do we want to put a focus? We selected to really focus on students with disabilities and in particular the suspension rate, and did some analysis and rolled out some plans there last spring and continuing into this year. Then in addition, each school, based on if they have subgroups in too many orange or red categories, then they get targeted assistance from the district. And so our middle schools received targeted support, or in one case of one middle school, comprehensive support, in which we helped their leadership team go through a similar process of analyzing where were those strengths and weaknesses, what kind of changes to their SIPSA and their school goals that they want to put in place. So this year's dashboard, the dashboard comes out every December. That's been the timeline they followed. What they're doing is waiting for test scores in the spring to come through, for us to submit over the course of the summer our suspension data, our chronic absenteeism and graduation data, so that they can have that kind of late fall every year, have those updated for us as quickly as they can for the previous year. So we're really looking at the 18-19 data and how it changed from the year prior, right? From the year prior, did it go up or down in each of those indicated categories? If we look at the overall colors here, we're in the orange in a number of categories. I gave a presentation on CASP a few months ago, and we saw that we were fairly flat again in our CASP scores, a bit up in math, but not enough to make a change that indicator. We were in orange last year and are in the orange again this year. But then as schools look at their indicators, and as you saw in the SIPSA presentations, some schools made some really nice growth in some, and they'll be in the green, for example. So those will vary from school to school. Some schools maybe had a little bit overall of flatness or drop, and then they'll may very well be in the orange like we are as a district. We're going to look at suspension rate a little bit more in detail there. That was in the orange previously, and we're in the yellow. And graduation rate, college career, has stayed in the green, which is great to see. Those are both just measuring 12th graders. So those two indicators are only for unified districts and for the high schools. You won't see either of those for the other schools. So as we look then, if you scroll down, this is the California Dashboard webpage, and then as you scroll down, then you have a chance to see some of the more details, and then you can click on down below here. Can I use my mouse? I can. I'm going to get the little, can I get the laser pointer? Yeah, there we go. So you can see some of the, where you can click to get more details about those subgroups, as well as click and see some of the individual school data. So I mentioned language arts and mathematics. We maintained, so we stayed in the orange category. College career, we had an increase of 6.4%. We had an increase the previous year. I think it was around 7% the previous year. So another year of increase in students meeting the college career indicator. So we're up to 52.6% there. On another slide, we're going to look at the details of that one, because that indicator has a lot of different ways that students can meet that. So we will look at that in a few minutes here. Chronic absentee, unfortunately, increased by 1%. Right, 11.7% chronic absenteeism. It's an area we continue to focus on. You see it in our LCAP. We'll continue to have that be one of our goals to work on absenteeism. This is unexcused and excused absences, right? So students might be sick. If they are excessively sick, one of the things we put in place that all districts put in place is once a student is ill for 10% of the time or more, then the school requires a doctor note from the parents to say, okay, are they abusing that sense of illness of a student? But we also don't want very sick students being at school either, right? So it's a catch-22 on those. But it's all wrapped up into that chronic absenteeism. Students who missed 10% of the school year or more. So in a 180-day school year, right, that would be 18 days of that 18. So students, yes, they can be sick a number of days. They can be out for different purposes. The question is, what percent of students are really missing an excessive number of days?
Yeah,
Dr. Flores, did you want to make a comment?
I was just going to add that Eric Thompson, our SLS coordinator, one of his primary responsibilities is chronic absenteeism. So he and I meet monthly. At those monthly meetings, he gives me a report on overall attendance and the absenteeism. And then he generates a list of the students that have been out 10% or more this year so far. And that goes to the principals every month. And I'm seeing lots of good responses from the principals, and the numbers are getting smaller. So I think just paying attention to it a little bit more, knowing who those students are that are, chronically absent is going to make a difference, because the lists are getting smaller, and I'm following the responses from the principals about the interventions, what they're doing to get those kids into school.
Yep. That 11.7% is, if you look at other districts around the state, that 10 to 13% range, it is where most districts are at. And so we're not unique in this challenge, right? Our overall attendance rate, 95%-ish, right around there, right, is very good. But that means 5% of the students every day, right, are not attending over 180 days. What does that result in, right? It's going to have a percentage of students being chronically absent. Suspension rate. I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question? Okay,
sure.
When do they compute the percentage of when do they count as being absent? So, and for example, if it's 1 week and they miss 1 day, that's 20%. But do they start there, or do they wait till by month or quarter?
So this is a number that we submit at the end of the year. So in June, we submit the percentage of days, the number of days present, number of days absent of every student in the district that was with us at least a month or more of school. They had to be present for 30 days. So any student who might have just been here a week, they're not going to count that one. But every student. So then of whatever number of days they were enrolled in our district, so over the 180 days, what percent? So we could, as the year goes on, we can say, okay, right now we're 90 days into our school year. What percentage of our students are absent 9 days so far, right? They are perhaps, unfortunately, on track already. But if they're here if they're present the rest of the year, they would not be chronically absent, right? On the other hand, there can be many students who have only been absent 7 days, but if they miss a week in the spring, all of a sudden they would fall into the chronically absent group.
And earlier I kind of heard you differentiate between students and students with disabilities that are absentee. And so working with the district, once you get special or additional help, what were some of the ideas that they offered up or helped or suggested?
Right. So they, in that case, it was students with disabilities. We focused on suspension rate. That was the one that we were in the red for last year. And we're going to look at another slide of all of our subgroups of what color we're in this year, right, in terms of each of those subgroups. But in that one, they led us through a self-reflective process. So, to say, okay, what were the root causes of special ed suspension? Okay, in some cases, the student may very well commit a serious infraction. In some cases, there was some reflection about, was there a process in place to make sure that some previous interventions were being met at the schools, right? And especially at the secondary. Suspension is more of a secondary issue than elementary. So there's not a large elementary suspension issue for the most part. And so to look at some of those processes and procedures in place, or to look at, is school culture, are students with disabilities feeling parts of school culture? And so that's part of that was part of the process that we led the middle schools through to kind of see if they came to some of those same conclusions as well, to say, what are some of those school culture issues, and are all students of different backgrounds and different abilities feeling part of a school culture? That's going to be one part of it, right? I mean, a student that brings alcohol to school brings alcohol to school, right? Or whatever. But it's those different elements to say, where do we want to tackle this larger issue? Yeah. Okay.
Trustee Pisano, you had a question.
Kermit, so am I reading this correctly where it says 11.7% are chronically absent? So for us, that's más o menos 1,000 kids?
Correct.
Wow, that's
right.
a lot. Okay.
And some are unexcused absences, some are illnesses, and it's a combination.
And that's basically 18 days or more.
Correct. Correct.
I mean, that's a lot. That's almost 4 weeks, so.
Right. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
So on the next couple of slides, then we just want to look at kind of how these colors are arrived at, right? There's support charts for every single one of these areas, but I just want to have a couple here. So here's an example of English language arts. So this is English language arts actually by school. So here's the Gilroy Unified. We're in the orange for English language arts. Our overall CAS scores put us in the low category, and we maintained, so it put us here. Antonio Del Bono, for example, in the yellow category, they're still in the low category, but they increased enough this year to get them in the yellow. Whereas Christopher High is in the yellow, but it's a different yellow. Their yellow is their scores are in the medium category, but they made a significant decrease this past year. So you can see how yellows here can mean two different things, right? A green, brownells in the middle, but they in the medium, but they increased, whereas Luigi Aprea is in the green, but they're in the high category. Even though they declined, they stayed. They didn't decline too much to fall outside of that green level. Then the next slide, just to kind of think that same thing through with suspension rate, I'm going to show the chart here, because the suspension rate, then you can get a sense of what would it take us to get to the next level as a district, right? So here on suspension rate, our rate this year was, on that previous slide, was 5.1%, right? So this is a chart for unified districts, and if you go to this page on the CDE, there's actually a whole bunch of charts. What's an elementary chart look like? And then a middle school chart, the high school chart, an elementary district, and then a unified district. So we fall in the unified district chart, and 5.1, unfortunately, puts us in the high range for suspension rates. So we decreased, and we decreased from 5.5 to 5.1, so we decreased between 0.3 and 2%, which got us into the yellow this year. Last year we were in the orange, and that moved us into the yellow, so we're moving the right direction. If we can continue to make that improvement and decline another few percentage points again, we could easily drop into that 4.5, or we might not, right? We might be at 4.6 next year. It might still put us in the yellow. So, with making those gradual improvements in each of these areas, I think this is one that you can kind of see, what does it take? How much change would have to happen to move from one color to another, for example, as a district.
And I've mentioned to you before, this is a top focus area for us. We've talked with the principals about it, and we're looking at the numbers. And I am hearing from principals, like I'll just single out one of our comprehensive high school principals sent me an email the other day, and their suspensions had dropped dramatically since last year, because we're really focusing on interventions before suspensions and alternatives to suspensions. So this is something we're all working on. It's not so much an elementary issue because they don't suspend that often, but middle school and high school it is, particularly the high schools, and it's an area that we're really working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each of these, the one, I mentioned this before, the one thing to keep in mind is each of these are just 1 year. It's not a multi-year trend. It's 1 year. So if your test scores go up a little bit 1 year, or your suspension rate goes up or down 1 year, you could drop into the yellow or the green. And so it's just important to remember, okay, that was 1 year. If we look at our 6 or 7 year trend on suspension rates, we used to be up around 9 or 10% suspension rate. Then we got down into the 4s. We've popped back up in the 5% rate in this last couple of years. So, in terms of an overall trend, we're in the right place, but not where we want to be. Right. And if you look at what the state wants us in the low, right? Wants us up in the under 2.5% as a unified district. Oof, that's a lofty goal, but we'll continue to move that direction.
Can I ask a
Ms.
question?
Fiat.
So do we know, like, what new things, or do we know why we went from orange to yellow so that we can replicate that? Or is it because we implemented multiple things over the years and it's kind of caught up?
Multiple. Yeah, it's definitely multiple things. Like we're using RJ instead of suspending restorative justice is a practice at some schools. So instead of immediately suspending a student, they go to a RJ group, or there's some RJ intervention. There are a lot of different things, suspensions out of school, although we learned last year in school suspensions count in this. So we thought a few years ago, okay, instead of suspending students out of school, we'll have them stay in school, we'll have them with a certificated teacher, they'll do their work, da-da-da. Well, unfortunately, that counts in the suspension rate.
Exactly.
So we've tried a lot of different things, but we're just not automatically suspending students right off the bat as the first intervention. That's the biggest change, and that's why it's gone from 9 to 5. It was a little lower.
Right.
And we're just going to keep plugging away at it.
Well, I would say one of the other things I've seen the last number of years, a number of schools that did a lot of in-school suspensions have really reduced their in-school suspensions and tried to find other ways. Now, there might have been a slight increase in their out-of-school, but there's been an overall drop in full-day suspensions. So that's another a change that I've seen in the past couple of years.
So let's say a teacher takes that student out of the classroom. Is that considered
under the education code? A teacher can suspend a student from their class.
That's considered
up to 2 days, I believe. Yes, 2 days.
And that'll count towards our suspension.
Yes,
so
definitely.
In this case, actually, though, the one caveat is that they do only have us report a full day of suspension for a student.
Okay.
So if a student is removed, for a period or for just a couple hours of the day, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it is a cumulative. So if it's multiple times that's happening, then that student might then qualify as part of that rate. Yeah, so it's a little complicated on that formula. Okay, so I think on that one to kind of get a sense of how those colors work on those two charts. And then kind of coming back to Mr. Diaz's question about, what are these subgroups looking like, right? So here is our categories for this year. If you remember, I mentioned last year we were in the red or the targeted assistance for our homeless subgroup and for our students with disabilities. And if we look here, homeless students are in the orange in all color areas. Now, I can't say, we did these miraculous things last year and from February and March and made some miraculous change, right? We also have to remember some of these subgroups are very small. Yeah. So the homeless subgroup that takes the CASP test may only be 30 or 40 students, and some of those might not have been with us the whole year. So the state is holding us accountable for them, and that's perfectly reasonable, but we need to keep that in mind as well. Whereas this, the socioeconomic disadvantaged student, that's 60%, 55% of our population, right? So the ones that are really making up a significant part of our population, it's good to keep that in mind, and that's not evident, right, as we look at those charts. Now with students with disabilities, we're now in the red for chronic absenteeism, but not for suspension rate. So, for what, if our district rate went up, it also looks like it went up for students with disabilities, and we're not in the red for both academic indicators, which is one of those requirements here. Now, we are now for foster youth. Once again, foster youth is a fairly small subgroup, but it's a targeted subgroup by the state as well. So we will be meeting with the county now as part of targeted assistance this spring as a follow-up to move forward on this. Now the question is, do we make a change in our work with the county and decide let's focus on foster youth? Remember, by the time we meet with them in February, March, we're already halfway through this year. And so do we continue our work on students with disabilities? That'll be the part of the conversation we have. Where do we want to make some of our additional focus? We're working on all of these things, right? Our LCAP has goals around all of these things, but where will we want to put that extra push this spring and into the next fall to address, where we see these needs here? Ms. Paceno?
I have a question because this doesn't make sense to me. So
okay.
Help. Under socially disadvantaged, under English language arts and math, they're orange. And yet under college and career, they're green, which seems to me mutually exclusive. And they're yellow in graduation rate, which also seems mutually exclusive. And yellow in suspension rate, great, but orange in chronic absenteeism. So they're orange in absenteeism, but their graduation rate is yellow. Their college career is green, and academically,
Right.
they're orange.
And if you
So
look at, and if
that's
you
a
look at the
mixed
very
bag
first,
to
if you
me.
look at our overall for our district, right, same thing, right? Our district's in the orange and on English language arts and math, but we're in the green in graduation rate. We have over a 90% graduation rate.
Right.
Our college career indicator has been increasing, which is good. So we think about our CASP scores. Our CASP scores, they were overall flat, around 50%, right around 49% in ELA, 40% in math. Now, with those scores, we still have students passing their classes in high school. We have students taking CTE pathways, and our high school graduation requires A through G completion, right? So they're passing their English classes. They're passing Math 1, 2, and 3. They may not still be quite strong enough to pass that CASP test that we've seen, especially high school CASP for juniors is a pretty low pass rate because that's a college preparedness there, but they can meet that college preparedness through some other ways. So yes, the state would like us to be growing more on our CASP scores, but that doesn't mean that our students can't still graduate from high school with those necessary requirements to graduate. Now, are they ready? What percentage of our students are really ready to go on and be successful at college, right? That's kind of the thing to think about. If they're not scoring high in math, for example,
Right.
we know that our percent of students who are ready to enter college level math is around 30%, which is right around where that CASP junior test is. So
Well,
that's why
just-
we can see those different colors there, and we can have those discrepancies like that and realize what those mean.
And it also just gives me pause into the integrity of the CASP.
What's that? I'm
frankly.
sorry?
It gives me pause into the integrity of the CASP.
And one of the
Because
things
so many of these things just feel mutually exclusive.
Well, Ms. Padilla mentioned then a junior could then take a math class again in their senior year. They could take another math class. They could take Math 3 in their senior year if they weren't at the Math 3 level in their junior year. So,
It doesn't say which English or which math, it's just English and math.
right, because and that is the other thing. I want to thank you for pointing that out. The English language arts and math colors of orange are all of our 3rd through 8th and 11th graders, whereas the other rate is just seniors. What did seniors do at the end of last year? What percentage of them graduated? What percentage of them were college and career ready? Some of them graduated from Mount Madonna, and in that case, they graduated not with an A through G diploma. So there's a percentage so if we think about the different ways that students will meet that graduation requirement, we'll have, we will see some of those discrepancies. Yeah. Yeah, but it's good to realize what those different indicators mean, right? Where might they be leading? Might they be misleading? Where are they? We need to pay attention to them as well to help guide our work forward.
I apologize if you don't. I mean, you might not know this because I didn't ask it ahead of time, but do you happen to know off the top of your head how many foster youth and how many homeless youth we have in our district?
Right now we have about 50 foster youth, and that was in the fall. And the fall count on homeless was about 150. It might be closer to 200 right now. Yep. Yeah, 170. So I'm thinking of our Census Day data because I was just working on that actually this week. So that was our census data. So then, for example, we have 50 foster youth. So all 50 of those foster youth would be part of the chronic absenteeism indicator. Where's our foster here? So all 50, assuming they're with us for the whole year, would be part of that indicator. But on English language arts, of those 50 would just be those foster youth who are in grades 3 through 8 and 11. So it might only be 30 of them that are part of that subgroup there. Yeah.
Yeah, she brings up an interesting point that I thought too would be to have numbers and parentheses next to
Right.
those groups. Like the all students would be 11K. And then the other question, the question I had was, that was a comment to the question was like roughly what, is there like a percentage that gets tied to, like to be green? Is it above 90%, 90 to 100%?
So in each of those, each each of the parts of the dashboard has its own rate. So, so here, suspension rate, here are the percentages you had to get in suspension rate, right? In chronic absenteeism, another chart saying you have to go down to, what is it? I think it's 5 to 10% is the medium. I think maybe under 5% is the low. But each indicator has its range that you had to get in, right, to be able to fall on that level and then increase or decrease to hit the green or the orange or the yellow, right? So. And then one of the other charts that are available on the dashboard site is to be able to look at districts across any county, for example. So here's Santa Clara County, and in particular, like I did when we looked at the CASP scores, I said, let's just look at the socioeconomic disadvantaged students across Santa Clara County and say, how are different districts doing there? So here you can see Gilroy in the middle here, where Trustee Pacento pointed out we were in the orange with a couple categories, but in the green and the yellow with the college and career and the graduation rate. And looking across many counties, many districts in the county in very similar situation, right? Having many of the same challenges. Right? Sometimes in the yellow, sometimes in the orange, some reds here and there. So anywhere in Santa Clara County, that group, and that's why we're being funded extra, right, by the state, and that's why our local control accountability plan, which will be coming up in a few short months, focus on that as one of our main target groups. And then finally, I want to just look for a minute at that college career indicator, because that's one that's it's a little complexity to get in. And so what they have is a chart on the dashboard that shows what percentage of the students met. How did we get to that 52.6% of students prepared? What did it take for them to get there, right? So you can see some of them were prepared. And these are, if you add these numbers up, it's going to be more than the 52%. So 52% represents 496 of our 943 graduates last year. So that 52%, a number of them met it in a couple different ways. So these are duplicated, exactly. They're not unduplicated. So CTE pathway, if they finished a CTE pathway, took the 2 classes of CTE pathway and got a C or better, and they also were able to get on an SBAC score of a 3 on one and a 2 on the other in their junior year. So there's kind of a 2-part. So a lot of these have a 2-part. SBAC, this percentage of students who got 2 3s or better on the SBAC. College credit, students who passed 2 college courses. So in the case of GECA, they are basically 100% college career prepared because they all take multiple college courses. Advanced placement, they had to have 2 tests with a 3 or better, et cetera. Seal by literacy, receive the seal by literacy, and receive at least a 3 on the English test. So each of these, there's kind of a couple, and then students could have met it through a number of these. But you can see our biggest one, because of our A through G high school requirements, that the majority of students met it through the A through G high school completion, and then they also had to get either complete a CTE pathway or get a 3 and a 2 on the CASP. But many of our students will take a beginning and advanced CTE course, not all, but between those two, that's what got us to have an additional increase. We continue to work on our CTE pathways, continue to work on our test scores. So if we can continue to see that upward movement for our college career readiness, that would be great. We had 2 great years on that one. James.
So is dark brown good and light brown is bad, and we've got a whole nother color scheme here?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't put the little color coding. They did that on they have a little chart. I didn't include. Right, they kind of wanted you to draw your eyes to the ones that you're.
Use the taupe scale for this one.
Which areas are the strongest for your district in terms of meeting? Yeah, you're right.
You're colorblind, you're in trouble.
And one other new feature this year on the CDE, it's not on the dashboard, on the CDE accountability page, they now have an interactive map to visualize all schools in California. I have to say, I'm not sure that's the best thing. I think it lends people to want to once again look at schools for good and bad schools. I think it's important to realize that there are multiple indicators here. And so as you click on the different indicators here I just happen to select English Language Arts, and then you can see Gilroy Unified and Morgan Hill and a little, is Hollister on here? Hollister got cut off. You can see the colors for English Language Arts. Then you click on Math, then the colors will change. Then you can click on just Foster Youth. You could click on Hispanic students. So it does allow, it has some interesting features, and hopefully people don't misinterpret what that means and understand it and use it in ways that may perhaps are less appropriate.
Oh, come on. How could anyone misinterpret this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've taken questions, but any other questions or comments? Ms. Fiat.
So, because I don't see, it's hard to figure out on this dashboard when we break it down by race and socioeconomic status for, let's say, suspension rates, right? Do you happen to know, so let's say our Hispanic Latino group is about 70% of our population.
Right.
What percentage of Latino Hispanics are being suspended?
Right. So so then so on the dashboard that doesn't have that data, the CDE keeps all of that in a separate website called DataQuest, and I can pull some of that out, and I think I'll pull some of that out and can send it to the board in a Sunday report. I'll pull out some of those DataQuest charts, and so they then do breakdown. So there you can say, okay, in each year, what was the percent of students? Socioeconomic disadvantage, foster youth, homeless, migrant, English learners, or by race and ethnicity, and what was their rate? So, for example, the Hispanic subgroup, which is, as you say, 70% of our school, of our district, they were suspended representationally 80% of the time as opposed to 70%. So, of slightly overrepresented in our overall suspension rate for 18-19. Yeah, and we see that in some of the other subgroups as well, and I'll put that chart together.
We already agreed he'll do a report, and we'll put it either this Sunday or next out to all of you.
I was expecting you to answer a question with light purple.
Oh, that's true. I will try to come up with a new color scheme for next time. Yeah.
You done?
Okay.
Thank you, Kermit.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kermit. The dashboard is a very complex tool, and to break it down for us this way and try to make sense of it, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to play with it, so thank you. Next, we have the monthly district cash flow update. Kimberly Smith, Director of Fiscal Services, will present the monthly district cash flow update to the governing board.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Flores and Acting Board President Munchi and board members. I'm going to bring you up to date on our current cash flow status. July through December is our actuals, and then January through the end of the fiscal year is based off of projections, and this is also relating to first interim. So if you look at December there, the beginning cash balance is a little over 15.6, and then our cash that we brought in for that month is a little over 19 million. And then total cash flow or total expenditures is a little over 10.6, and part of that is the compensation down on the bottom there. So you'll see that certificated, classified, and all of the statutory benefits and health and welfare that go along with that made up 84% of that 10.6. And then you'll notice that the ending cash balance is the same whether or not we took out a trans, because we did not take out a trans this year, which is a temporary revenue anticipation note, which is basically a loan. But we did not take one out this year, and we're doing fine. And the next chart here is just another way of looking at the cash coming in and our cash flow.
Is December a bigger income month because of property taxes?
Yes, and also our EPA is quarterly. Our Educational Protection Act, our Prop 30, which is now Prop 55 money, is on a quarterly basis. So that also hit in December.
And what in June? Why is that a bigger month? Is that
as far as revenue or as far as expenditures?
No, revenue.
So the 28, you mean, or the 20 million?
The
The 20
20
million at the end. So a lot of our the federal monies, state monies, everything is wrapped up. A lot of stuff comes in because we're not having deferred revenue and so forth. So a lot of it will hit then, and the rest of the taxes and the rest of the also the Prop 55 money. Sure.
On the property taxes, you know, we pay them in December and in April, and so we get a massive influx of property taxes in those 2 months. And then every now and then that lingers from month to month, but the key spikes on revenues for property taxes are December and April. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none. Kimberly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we should go ahead and make a motion for items 7B through E.
They're
This-
informational.
There's a roll call vote. Was that just for A?
Yeah, those are
Information only.
That was just for A. Okay. In that case, we will keep moving along. Next, we have the board will discuss meeting dates for August through December 2020.
Yeah, that was in the last meeting, we had noted that there were proposed dates for the first half of the year and not the second half of the year.
Right.
What I really liked, I'm glad they're there now, of course, and then what I liked also was that there are no new dates that are after a 3-day or 4-day weekend, so it makes it easier to plan for and work around for and read the materials and plan all that stuff. Looks good.
Do we have a motion to approve then?
I make a motion to approve the proposed dates for the second half of the year of 2020.
A second.
Lucy, we'll need a roll call.
Enrique Diaz.
Yes.
BC Doyle.
Yes.
Gwen Pioch.
Yes.
Mark Good.
Yes.
Anisha Munchi.
Yes.
James Pace.
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Next, we have members of the Board of Education are assigned to school sites and committees on an annual basis, and we have the board member committee and school assignments, and this is an action item.
So I noticed that there is an updated version here at the dais.
Yes.
Putting me on the general plan committee because I've been serving on it, and in theory, we're almost done.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
So I will make a motion to approve the board member assignments.
I second it.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Enrique Diaz.
Yes.
BC Doyle.
Yes.
Gwen Pioch.
Yes.
Mark Good.
Yes.
Anisha Munchi.
Yes.
James Pace.
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Okay, item 8 is action information items regarding facilities and maintenance, and 8A is ratification of contract amendment number 1 with EnviroScience for services at Gilroy High School. Paul is not here. So we have a presentation. Dan, go ahead. All
Good
right.
evening, Superintendent Dr. Flores, Acting President Munchi, and School Board. Unfortunately, Paul could not be here this evening. He had to leave town with a family emergency, so I will do my best to present his items. Just wanted to know, items A through G are all allocated funds set aside through Measure E. First is a ratification of contract for amendment number 1 with EnviroScience Services at Gilroy High School, not to exceed $4,300. This was due to a backup in the sewage system in the F5 building that affected the training room and restrooms. The remediation work was done by an outside source, but EnviroScience was called in to sample test and certify that the room was safe and clean for students and staff to reoccupy. Next item is approval of additional services, amendment number 3 with ATIS Architects for design work on the pool project at Gilroy High School. This is to address the hot water system that currently is, and BC's laughing, it's a large boiler in the middle of the pool mechanical room. that would be very nice to go away just due to the new footprint of the pool mechanical room, but also make that area a much more efficient area of hot water. It's a very antiquated old system, and it does impact the new pool. But currently there are issues with getting hot water to the showers in both the boys and girls locker room. And ADIS and their mechanical engineer will consult with our plumbers so they know the issues that we're experiencing. So hopefully a design will come up with a system. They're anticipating it to be in the range of $100,000 to make that improvement. But with ADIS, it's not to exceed $19,200 for the design of the new system.
Do we know why we didn't decide to fix that from day one?
No, I don't know why that was not addressed. I actually thought that was going to be part of the scope of the work because that boiler is in the middle of the pool mechanical room. But it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. It's a constant source of our guys going out to try to fix and remedy the problem, and it's a very, very old system.
And the good news is that the contract came in under budget, the overall project contract. So we have the money to do this, and we should do it. It should have been included in the original scope.
Thank you.
I saw in that same contract that that it was called out that the coach's room wouldn't be addressed because it looked like it would need additional like ADA compliance if we were to even approach it.
The coaches' shower areas will be another issue that I'll be bringing to you. Those two rooms, both the men's and women's coaches' showers, are going to require a major overhaul, and it involves remediation. Those rooms contain some bad things that we can't touch without proper remediation and abatement.
But
so you will be
these
hearing
are
about
for the
that before the
students,
summer.
right?
This is student showers. Yes. But the showers themselves will be coming to you hopefully soon as a summer project.
Okay, thank you.
Do they need a shower?
Next item C
Cold water work.
is ratification of contract with Mighty Tree Movers for structural pruning of the trees along Carmel. I'm sure if you've all gone to Brownell, you've seen those large ash trees out there. They are of concern. There's some crazy long, heavy branches that need to be cut back. This will be severe cutback. It will be quite noticeable this time of year to do it, but it's a very good time of year to do this. In the spring, when they start to leaf up again, they will look very symmetrical and proper. But right now, it'll be alarming due to the size of the trees that are there. But this is a safety issue. Just this year, we've had one extremely large branch break off and fall directly across Carmel Street, almost hitting a city truck that was parked in front of the school. So this will address any of the structural issues of concern and weakness in the trees. That's for Mighty Tree Movers of $9,500. Next item is approval of contract with Johnson's Electric for the security systems to be installed at Brownell. This is a planned expense. This is not an unplanned expense. It's typical of a district to handle their own security systems on the buildings that we build. It's been typical since I've been here. So this was already planned as a planned expense. Cost of working with Johnson's, who I highly recommend, we work with them quite a bit for our fire systems, is $77,528. Next item is approval of contract amendment number 1 with Randazzo Enterprises for work on the portable project at Gilroy High School. Randazzo did a very good job of demoing the portables out at Gilroy High. They did have to leave one wall in place that has the utility and power drops on it. The power vault is right nearby, so this additional cost is to shore up that wall and keep it safe until it can be addressed properly. Next item is approval of contract with amendment number 1 with Casavan Architects for continued work on projects for the Division of State Architect to close out outstanding projects in the district. I think this is the second go-around with Casavan. There is, at the beginning of last year, there were 31 outstanding projects. 8 were closed during the year. There's 23 remaining. It's got a lot of items. Next item is approval of contract with Padre and Associates for the remedial action work plan at Brownell. This is for the overseeing the abatement of the next phase of the Brownell demolition. And cost of $21,590, not to exceed. And next item, I think Alvaro would like to present.
Thank you, Dan. So again, Paul apologizes, but he did have an emergency and could not be here today. The next one we're actually pretty excited about. It's the kickoff for the South Valley Reconstruction Project. So it is the approval to request for qualifications for architects. This shouldn't indicate to the board that we're not happy with ADIS, the architect, or Flint. It's just simply we want to make sure these guys regain our business again and keep working and keep doing an excellent job for us. So this will kick off the process for South Valley, and along with that process, we'll replenish the pool of architects that we'll also be working with for other projects down the road.
Okay, I have 3 maintenance items for you, and these 3 items will be funded out of routine restricted maintenance. The first item is approval of contract with Plumbing America to install a booster pump in the pool water system area. Currently, we have very low water pressure in that area. It always has been since day one. There's many backflow devices that restrict the volume and pressure we have there. The main issue is not only just the maintenance of the pool area, but the ADA pool chair lift does not operate properly at low pressure. This will boost it to a consistent 60 psi, which I think it's 55 pounds is what's required for the ADA lift. Currently, we're not in compliance with the health code that we could get a citation for not having that chair operate properly. The cost of that is not to exceed $9,250. The next item is approval of contract again with Plumbing America, Inc. for providing and installing 2 ultra-low flush urinals in the boys' restroom in the library quad area, boys' restroom that's currently under reconstruction due to the problem we had there with the waterless urinals creating an issue in the wall cavity. We had this issue again a few years ago in the A restrooms, and we upgraded the urinals that were in there to a one that is flushed with water. These are ultra-flow. They're a new product. They're not the same ones that we used in the A wing. They're a newer generation. They're, I think, a better product. We spent quite a bit of time researching this along with our plumbers and the plumbing company. But this is an insurance claim in that restroom, but they will not cover the upgrade of the urinals. They'll replace in kind or reinstall the existing, but to upgrade so we can avoid this problem in the future will cost us $7,500. Last item is approval of contract with Cottage Floors for classroom floor replacements at Luigi. There's 6 portables that will be used next year with the increase in student population. There's 8, I think, and 6 of them need new floors. Cottage Floors measured up, and they're ready to go the week of February 17th to replace these floors. We will also start removing contents, and you'll be given the surplus items at the next board meeting that we'll be able to take out of that room also and have that room ready for occupation.
Dan, when you say they need new floors, is it a structural thing or?
No, I'm sorry. It's carpeting. The subfloor and floors are fine, but the carpets are either stained, torn, or just worn out, but they need to be replaced. And also during this project, there's a few other items around the campus, tears and whatnot, that Cottage Floors will fix at no charge.
Thank you, Dan. Any
you.
other questions? Okay, so at this time, we need a motion to approve items 8A through 8K, and this is a roll call.
Second?
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
B.C. Doyle,
Yes.
Wen Pyock,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we have board member reports. Do we have any reports tonight?
I'm sorry, can I make a request? I love when you guys put pictures. So next board meeting, can we please have pictures of, like the pool and all of those things? Thank you.
Urinals aren't that pretty.
Yeah, really.
Sure, we want to look at those.
Right. They do a monthly report, and these are off-cycle.
Okay, thank you.
Any board member reports?
Okay.
Ms. Fiak had her hand up.
A couple of things, or two things really. I attended the South County Youth Task Force meeting with Dr. Flores, and on January 28th, they are having a soft opening of the Resilience Center at the Neon Exchange off of First Street. So that's going to be kind of exciting. It's going to be, they say it's going to stay open as long as people come, and they were going to provide on-site counseling services and stuff like that. So that's
Off of Monterey. Neon, if it's Neon Exchange. It's
Okay.
off Monterey, right, yeah.
Yeah, they just said First Street.
Oh.
I apologize. I don't know where Neon Exchange is.
It's right next to Media's. Yeah, right next to Media's. Yeah,
Oh,
right there,
okay.
I didn't know
Okay.
either till last month.
And then for the Census 2020, May 9th, they're going to do, the county is going to do a youth live voice event. And they're also going to stream it in Morgan Hill as well. So as we get more information, they're trying to actually have it, they're hoping to have 300 to 500 students throughout Santa Clara County attend, and they're trying to get the 49ers Stadium. So we'll see.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Any upcoming and new referral agenda items?
I had a couple. I don't know if this one falls under there, but on the northwest, and I'm glad you're here too, there's a northwest where Santa Teresa and Day Road West. There's it's definitely not the school property, but there's a big drop off of from the road to the dirt right there. Obviously, trucks have gone over, cars have gone in, and they kind of dig into it.
Near Christopher.
Near Christopher High School, yeah. It's pretty scary. When you look at it, there's a couple of places there where it would definitely affect parents and students of Christopher High.
But you're talking about the road, so
right.
that's the city.
Yeah, it's something to mention. It would definitely affect our students, so it's something, I just wanted to mention it. That was kind of it. I don't know. Definitely not our domain, but it would affect our students or parents or
It's
anybody.
right at that intersection.
Yeah, it's worth a look.
In fact, when it rains a lot, it floods.
When it rains, it's invisible, because then you don't really see that dirt, and it's just there. Something that I just saw happen to notice. Or I've noticed it for a while. I wanted to mention it. The other part, I realized that we use the idea of no school in all our messaging, and especially with 70% of our student population being Latino or Hispanic, and other ethnicities will kind of follow that, but tend to use the idea of no classes or no instruction or no non-instructional day or something. And I was wondering if that was something we had ever talked about or anything as a messaging, as an idea.
Are you talking like on the website or on the calendar?
Website calendars, phone calls. It's kind of a universal thing.
As opposed to?
No instruction, no classes. In Spanish, when you say no school, it means it's literally the structure is gone. But I know we can't discuss it. It's just an idea for messaging and opportunity for clear messaging. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Anything else? All right. In that case, the next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Thursday, January 30th, 2020, at 7810 Arroyo Circle, Gilroy. Closed session will begin at 5:30 p.m., followed by the regular meeting at 7 p.m. The agenda will be available on the district's website by 5 p.m. on Friday, January 24th. At this time, the board will adjourn to meet in closed session.